1,000 victims, and most of them are children from 3 to 13. This devastating
sports columnist
attacks without warning. There is no pain, no known cause, no known treatment, and no known cure. Even those of you who are not
Detroit Free Press readers
must realize the heartbreak of standing by in the knowledge that you can't save a child from certain
boredom.
The only hope that exists for the doomed victims is in constant, painstaking research. Your contributions will make this research possible. Send as much as you possibly can to your
ML Soul of Detroit podcast.
You asked it around your bring around my face. It's gone. What are you doing? What are you doing? That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric, and we have to start this week with a program note. Sean is not here with us, and a clarification as well. Sean's work doesn't just bore children, it bores people of all ages. So as you know, Sean doesn't like to discriminate. He likes to treat everyone the same, which is what we should all aspire to. So if you or someone you know, a child, a sibling, a parent, has been bored by Sean's work or somehow just frustrated by the product he puts out on a regular basis, please give generously. Send as much as you can spare to ML Solve Detroit. We are still working on a cure. We have a long way to go, people, but we'll only get there.
I can't believe you're picking on him while he's ailing.
Is he ailing? I think he uses a lot of excuses. I think he's probably...
Are you going to demand a doctor's note for him not being here today?
Well, I checked his Instagram feed because obviously he's a dynamic creature on social media. And he said that he was curry combing his Percheron stallions at his
Sounds like him.
His ranch there in Washtenaw County. So I don't know what he told you, but he's telling the world something different. But we wish him well,
Such
nevertheless.
A bully.
Yeah, we wish him well just the same. That's Mark Fellhauer here, who's picking up the load that Sean usually carries. So should be no extra effort required there to fill that gap. And we have a very special show this week. We have a couple guests with us who are talking about human trafficking in Nepal. And you're saying, Nepal, is that like past Northville? It's like, no, that's like on the other side of the world. But our guests are Michigan residents, Eastsiders, and I think Pam, you're from Ann Arbor, living out that way. So perhaps you can go by Sean's ranch on the way home. But we're going to be talking about how they got involved in this, and also how you can get involved. Because on Monday, January 30th, they'll be showing a documentary. I will be helping to MC that evening, and we're going to have a discussion with some people to delve into this topic, because it's a topic that affects people everywhere. You may have heard Deb Ellinger on this show before from Eli's house, trying to help people get off the streets on the east side. This is an international problem. And you may have read a story written by my wife, Teresa Baldus, about a young woman from the suburbs, had every advantage in the world, made some mistakes, finds herself in a hotel, basically the hostage of a, let's just say, a manipulative individual rather than getting into...
It was an ex, right? Wasn't it an ex-boyfriend / drug dealer, or is that cloudy?
Yeah.
Amazing story.
I can't remember whether he introduced her to the person who basically kept her hostage, or whether they had a relationship that turned into more of a dependency issue. But this is happening all over the place, and it kind of happens the same way. People are disadvantaged. They need some help, and someone takes advantage of them. It's not just sex. It can be labor. It can be basically the old-time indentured servitude, where you're sort of like a sharecropper, where you're working, but you never seem to quite pay off that loan. And so Paul Fayad and Pem Sherpa are going to be talking to us about that. If you have any questions, you can feel free to throw them up on our Facebook Live page, which is ML Elric. Or if you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate it if you subscribe, sign up for alerts so you know when we go live, and you can put questions up there, which Joe will share with us throughout the show. And this is all brought to you by David Hall of Hall Financial and Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. David Hall will help you get the deal on your house or get some money out of your house. Luke will help you use the money you have wisely to invest in your future and to set you up so you have a comfortable retirement, so that when you go see David Hall, you'll be looking for an even bigger house to spend the rest of your days in, we hope, gracefully, but more about those gentlemen and the very valuable services they provide after we talk to Paul and Pam. Guys, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
So, Pam, I know you're not from around these parts. You got a little more of an accent than if you were from, say, Chicago even. Paul, you're a guy I know from the Eastside, and you're both working together to make things better for people in the Himalayan mountains, right? That's where Nepal is?
Yes, yes.
Home of the Dalai Lama?
Well, the Dalai Lama's in northern India, but not too far away.
Okay, but he's... do you guys ever run into the Dalai Lama?
Not lately.
No, okay. You say hello, Dolly, when you see if you saw him, or have you worked on some sort of, is it your eminence or your excellence or
Holiness.
His Holiness.
Mr. Lama? Your holiness. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to have to work on that if he shows up on Monday. But tell us a little bit about the program, how you got involved, and what's going on.
Sure. This goes all the way back to 2015 for me. So I had been trekking and doing a number of hikes throughout the United States and Upper Peninsula, Michigan, out west in the Tetons, in New Mexico, as well as in the northern parts of the Adirondacks, and decided at some point that I needed to get to Everest and the Himalayas and do some real trekking. And that's when I met Pam, who runs a Himalayan store in Ann Arbor when my sons were going there for college at U of M. And my wife spotted the store and said, "There's your dream, go inside and sign up." So I did, and we've been partners or friends and trekking companions since 2015. So in the process of trekking, it is not an exact science. You get stuck in a lot of areas because of severe weather. We were stuck in a small village called Namsi Bazaar, just outside of Everest. And I had time to go up to the school and visit with the kids up at the school and the teachers, as well as an orphanage, and found out this whole issue that's been going on for many, many years regarding human trafficking. And it turns out that Pam, which I did not know at the time, was involved in an organization out of Montana, which was set up with the people of Nepal, called the Sering Fund. And he introduced me to Sering, the founder, as well as the president, the other co-founder, Peter, who lives in Montana. And I decided to get involved with my family. So in 2017, we began sponsoring children from Nepal to go to school, because the foundation of the Sering Fund is built on, if children can maintain and get an education, then they have value. And if they have value, then they have less of a chance of being human trafficked. And this was particularly clear with girls. So the boys can become trekkers, they could become porters, they could become guides, but the girls were deemed to be invaluable or of having no value. And they were sent off, trafficked, or even sold to other villages as a wife to take care of animals or to do farming.
So they're sold off by their family? So is this a cultural thing where they just don't value women?
So it is part of a cultural thing. I think Pam can explain a little bit more, but historically it was known for certain parts of Nepal to be able to provide for the people that ran the country back in the day, concubines that would come from certain areas of the northern parts of Nepal because of their beauty or because of their looks. And they were given to the emperors or the people the monarchs that would run the country. And it just became sort of like a cultural issue. And now it's being taken advantage of by people who know this history and go up and tell them, the families, that, hey, there's an opportunity for your daughter to become something better than what she will ever be.
Yeah, they lie for money. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, the girls are not sent to school or anything by parents because they think that girls gonna get older and they get married and go sent to somebody's house, and they are not asset, they're liabilities. And then they more like a son, they send to school and try to raise them better because they're gonna take care of them in the future. So this is a more like a cultural issue all over the country. And like even 10, 15 years back, no one really sent their girl to school. So girl would be working at home, taking care of animals, cows, all this housework, and then boys are going to school.
And that's not unique to Nepal. I mean, we've seen that with Afghanistan. I think most people in this country know that issue there. But is trafficking worse in Nepal than, say, other countries, other poorer countries in Asia, like Bangladesh? I mean, because when people think of trafficking humans, I think the biggest example recently is Qatar in the World Cup. I mean, a lot of people know that story.
Right.
Is that all tied together?
Well, it's basically India as the biggest country there. That lots of girls are kind of taking out from Nepal. I mean, there are lots of organizations that they're trying to prevent those things, but it's every year maybe there's like thousands of girls that take from Nepal and send them to either India or Africa or some other places, and even like China. If you go there, like some of those dance restaurant or things like that, you have some girls from Nepal dancing there, and they are not educated and they don't know anything, so they take them there, they take their passport out, and they don't release them till they need it. I mean, they can't work or something like that. So if they are educated, I hope they will able to understand these kind of problems and issues or so.
Well, that's just a terrible dilemma. If you can't read and write, and you end up somewhere, how do you find someone to help you? You can't, even if you can get to a computer, you can't read what's on the computer. If somebody sends you a letter or you see a poster, you don't know what to do. It seems like without education, you're almost sentencing someone to be a victim or to somehow be manipulated.
Yeah, and then now it's even these days there are like lots of like this human trafficker. They send a good-looking boys or something into those villages, and they kind of can make a connection with the family, and they go to all these nice, good-looking girls, and they make friends, and even like they get closer, and then they say, "Oh, we're gonna marry you," and all these things, and they take it.
And they build trust.
Yeah, they build trust, and they take with them, and they actually sell to some of the people on a border site or something, and that things happen like a lot.
Is the government too weak to do anything about it, or is there just no will to try and stop it within Nepal and going outside of Nepal?
Yeah, government is also working hard, but it's once you have a relationship and then you go with someone else, they don't able to stop them unless once they lost, or then family start complaining, and that time it's almost too late.
Too late.
Yeah, I think too with the way that the country is set up. So if you look at a Google map of Nepal, the majority of the country is in mountainous regions. So the government, is very difficult for the government to monitor what is right and wrong, crime and so on and so forth that occurs, or trafficking that might occur, because some of these villages are, the only way you could get to them is 10, 12 hours by jeep or a helicopter or some other way. So it makes it a unique country for people to take advantage of these sort of things. And because of the culture in the past was that it was maybe a good thing for girls to become concubines, the people that take advantage of those from other countries know how to utilize that and know how to create value and trust. And I think what we call it here is grooming. They groom them in preparation to gain their trust, to move them out.
And Paul, when you go over there, how often do you go to Nepal, and how long do you stay? And I mean, do you get any hiking in, or has this become something that has really become the mission now?
So, yeah, it's a great question. I usually go for a month. I've been going for the past couple of years on an annual basis, 4 to 5 weeks. Pam, through his company, Imperial Expedition, sets up my trekking and actually takes care of everything because he has people feet on the ground, so to speak. His entire family's involved in helping, and not only with the trekking, but also with the work that we do within the fund. So I'll give you an example of this past year when I was in Nepal. I was there for almost 5 weeks. A lot of helicopter trips up to the mountain regions to get up there fast enough to be able to visit with the schools that our girls are going to. We have 400 girls that are attending schools in northern Nepal and in Kathmandu. So visiting each one of the schools, doing a review of the English courses that they're being taught, meeting with the teachers, meeting with the principals, doing evaluations on how well the girls are doing, because they have to have education, especially in English, in order to get into pre-college and college courses in Kathmandu. So getting them prepared for that, meeting the girls, making sure that they're okay, and then traveling to the next school by helicopter. So probably 3 of the weeks were mainly me working with the orphanage. We've set up some programs at the orphanage for social activities. We got a martial arts instructor that's teaching the kids martial arts. We've started a soccer program. And then making sure that the food that they eat is correct, that they're getting enough meat. And the fund is a part of all this. The people with the fund are with me. And then PEM usually sets up my reward, which is generally a trek into one of the mountain regions. And we've done treks up to 22,000 feet, 20,000 feet at different peaks. And I spent a lot of time with his family, his brothers and his brother-in-law on these treks. They're all mountaineers, so it's very safe. And it's an opportunity for me to kind of find myself a little bit too.
Well, I want to diverge from there, Pam. How did you end up in Ann Arbor from Nepal?
Well, it's a good story. I mean, it's like long story. 2005, me and my wife climbed Everest, and then we came to Chicago for first time, and then we went back to Nepal, and then we came to Colorado, and I was a part of the group that hiked from New Mexico to Canada on Continental Divide Trail.
Yeah.
We finished that in a 4-year project, seasonally. And then after that, I was looking for kind of job, but I didn't know it's a part of the recession that time in the country. And I couldn't find a job in Colorado.
Yeah, nice timing.
Yeah. And then I have a friend in Ann Arbor who started selling things from Nepal on her garage. And then she said, well, maybe come to Ann Arbor. We'll open this store on the main street. And I moved here and we opened that. And so far I stuck here, and then the store is running. So.
Because obviously I've only seen pictures of Nepal. I've never been there. It looks beautiful. Your family's there. Do you want to go back?
I do want to go back, and I'm really fortunate that I'm able to go back there every year and able to take people like Paul and other people and show them my country. And it's still like I'm thinking maybe when I get retired or something, I want to go back and stay there, but my wife and children might not go with me. Yeah.
That might not be so bad. That may
exactly.
That may be how you get a peaceful retirement. Yeah. This may be another good cause we can support. So you climbed to the top of Everest, Pam?
I did climb twice, and me and my wife both climbed together in 2005. It's interesting. I mean, we did exchange our wedding vows on top of Everest, so we call ourselves as the first couple married on top of Everest.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That's a good way to
I have a
short.
Yeah, my good friend from Montana, she's writing a kind of a story, based on our climbing. So she's writing a book, so hopefully it'll come out this year.
Now, I read about people climbing Everest, and that there are people who climb just to clear the trash that's left by the hikers, and and to take the bodies from people who don't make it. Do you see things like that
and
when you climb?
Waste,
I mean,
isn't human waste a big problem on it too?
You do see a few dead bodies once in a while. It depends on like weather. If lots of snow, they will cover it. If the snow is melted, then they kind of start coming out.
God.
But nowadays, below 26,000 feet, most of the dead bodies been cleared. So you don't see dead bodies unless they are buried under the crevice or something, and they come up. And
you're so nonchalant about that. Like,
yeah, that sounds to me like
climbing.
Turn back.
Yeah,
I see a dead body, I say, okay.
And then trash part, I mean, there are used to be lots of trash, but it's been cleaning a lot. Like every year there is a expedition group that goes up there and try to clean them. So, and then nowadays they have a regulation that whatever you take there, you have to bring it back. So they try to bring back everything.
So, Paul, have you thought about Everest? Is that on your list, or are you You don't want to be the next body.
Oh, well, the highest I've gone is Mira, which is just over 21,000 feet. I'm at an age right now where an Everest expedition, also with the physical aspects of my body and the number of surgeries I've had, I'm not going any higher than 20,000 feet these days. But I've been to Everest. I've been to base camp. We actually took a helicopter up towards Camp 1 and 2. And it's a beautiful area, but higher mountain climbing is not in my future.
Now, I've heard that if you get above 10,000 feet or 15,000 feet, you're basically dying. That there's a certain point where you can't survive there, and the longer you stay up there, what is that threshold? That sounds kind of scary to me.
26,000 feet.
After 26,000 feet, we call death zone. So there's probably, no matter how long you're gonna stay there, your body will not climatize after that. But 16,000 feet is not that bad. You walk around Nepal and 16,000 feet, you have this 2-year kids walking in front of you. So you don't even feel like you're on 15,000
Okay,
feet.
so these guys who complain about playing baseball in Colorado because of the altitude, they should do a little training in Nepal then.
I think so.
Okay, and
But that juxtaposition of, I'm assuming that's a major industry for Nepal, right? Everest.
It's a huge industry, yeah.
And then you have this horrific human trafficking issue because so many people are poor. What country is the biggest violator? Like who takes these humans out of Nepal? Is it India? Because it's right next door, because you mentioned India a little bit. Or and where are these criminals from? Like what criminal organization is doing this and making a lot of money?
So first of all, I think it would be careful to not pinpoint any particular country, because what I do want to say is this: it is almost every country that you could possibly mention that is a part of human trafficking, and that's the issue that we want to bring to the table more than anything else. We have it here in the United States, as you were talking about earlier, ML, with what happens even here locally. But in Nepal, a lot of it is done within the surrounding countries because it's just more convenient. So you have, the richest countries in the world. Some of them are Arabic countries. Some of them are rich people from India, from Malaysia, from a number of different areas that are violating and utilizing, young women and young men as a part of this whole human trafficking issue. So, I think every country is contributing to the negative effects of human trafficking. So we really want to be careful with that.
Now, these criminal organizations that kind of lead the way, where are they from?
They're from those countries.
They're basically local, but they are connected with the other international parties as well. But we are open border with the India. Our border is really strict with the China, so there is not much happening with the Chinese. But any Nepali people wants to go to China need a visa, and it's hard to get it. But India, you don't need anything. So because of the open border with India, that's more things happening toward that area. Yeah.
So think of it this way too. Think of the average person in Nepal probably makes about $4,000 to $5,000 a year, American U.S. dollars. Okay, so you have these families that are living in poverty, and they're being offered an opportunity to be able to make significant money compared to $4,000 or $5,000 a year, maybe $2,000, $3,000, $300 a girl, whatever the case may be. So they're enticed within Nepal to be able to participate in this, feeling that, I can do something for my family or for me personally, and I don't know these people, so why not make that happen? And the value, what we're trying to bring, what the Syrians Fund does, and what we're trying to do is create a value for these people by providing education. So the story of Helambu is a story of one young lady from the Helambu district, which is in northern Nepal, that has survived this. All of her friends from the village were taken, so they were all taken away. And disappeared into other villages or into other countries. But her grandmother decided that she didn't want this young girl to be taken. So as you fast forward through the film, there is a principal that lives in this area that created a school that we fund and we're a part of in Malanchigayam, which is a village not that far away in the Helambu district. And what he did was he saw what was happening, and he started bringing girls in. And then he started coming to funds like our fund and saying, can you sponsor these girls? Because if the girls have value, the families aren't going to let them go. They're going to say the future is this young lady's going to become a nurse, going to become a doctor, a lawyer, a hotel manager, and be able to support the family for the future. So the main theme is that we create an educational system that provides for these young girls who normally would not have this and be devalued to suddenly graduating. This young girl is becoming a nurse, and she wants to build a hospital in the Helambu district. So it fast forwards to suddenly there's a value in life and a value for these girls. And then the villages see that and they send their girls to school. And if they can't afford it, we step in and we provide for that.
What does it cost to build a hospital there?
So to be, I think we're pretty close to about $1 million for like a 16-bed facility. We're actually doing a study right now.
That's $1 million isn't nothing, but I mean,
It's not bad.
You think about some of the equipment in our American hospital. It's $1 million for an MRI machine or something like that.
It seems doable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It seems like an attainable goal.
So what are folks going to find out on Monday? We're going to show the documentary. Where can people go see it and get involved?
So this is at the Windmill. It's in Grosse Pointe Park at Windmill Point. There is a theater there, and I'm terrible with names, so I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names of the theater. And
You're doing pretty good with those names from Nepal. I mean, you're going to mess up the Fred Jones Theater? Come on, Paul. What's going on? Don't sandbag on us now.
Olachinsky.
Oh, see, you put the pressure on him there.
Yeah. That's and I apologize to the family, but it's a beautiful theater. It's right there at Windmill Point in Grosse Pointe Park. My family, by the way, my boys right now are laughing at me because they're expecting me to mispronounce a lot of names.
Oh, I'm going to be terrible on Monday. I beg everybody's forgiveness right now.
So, and then we're going to walk across. It's a 48-minute film. Bring a lot of Kleenex because there will be a lot of crying. It's a beautiful story, and it ends well, which is the best part of the story. And then we'll go across the yard, so to speak, at the park to the Tompkins Center, and we're going to have a question and answer period. So Peter will be in, who's the president of the Saring Fund. We were hoping to get the cinematographers in, but it looks like we might not be able to get them here because we've got a couple of other positive things happening. The film was a finalist at the Banff Film Festival. It has now been selected at the London Film Festival and at the Vancouver Film Festival. So they're busy preparing for the airings in London and the airings in Vancouver. But we'll have a question and answer period. Pam will be there. I'll be there. Peter will be there. And we've got food. And we have beer and wine and water and coffee and whatever else you need. And we're hoping that people come and just learn a little bit more and understand what it is that we're trying to do.
And this is a free event. The parks in Grosse Pointe are restricted to residents, but I imagine if you tell them at the gate that you're there for the documentary, they'll wave you right in.
Yes.
And Paul and I will be there. Pam will be there. We hope to see you there too, so we can learn a little bit more about this. And as we have in the past, occasionally on this show, talked about the problem of human trafficking. We want to keep this front and center because they're talking about what's going on in Nepal, but it's really not all that different than what's going on around here. And less sophisticated gentlemen than myself who may go to exotic dance clubs may remember when it was the all-French Canadian Review. Well, I think that's long gone, and a lot of the women that you see at these places are there against their will from all over the world. So this is a problem that's right in our backyard. But I will tell you, just having seen the trailer for this, and we'll post a link to our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. The scenery, the visuals are just gorgeous. I mean, when I first saw it, I was thinking, is this going to be one of these Warren Miller ski movies? You know, the soaring shots and everything. But it is a story about somebody who got out and about the difference that can be made. So we don't want to make light of the subject, but we also don't want you to feel like this is something where you can't make a difference. And we encourage you to follow the link on our website, to come out and see us on Monday, and to keep thinking about this, because it's a problem all over the world, and it's a problem we got to solve, because education does create futures for people, and we don't want to lose any of our loved ones to all the predators out there. I wish LaDuff was here, because I can't remember what the term is they use in Mexico for the guys who is it wolves or
coyotes?
Coyotes. Okay, I was in the dog family. I knew it was some sort of canine who are hustling people back and forth across the border down there. So Charlie knows about this and talks about this a lot too. So it's a problem that's right on our doorstep.
And if you can't make the film, there's a website if people are interested in donating and helping out. It's the Sering Fund. Not the easiest spelling in the world. I'll just say that right now. TSERINGS fund.org.
And we will make it easy for you by putting a link to our website. So Paul Fayad, Pem Sherpa, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on Monday.
Yes, yeah.
So, Mark, before we get to the next segment, why don't we pay a couple bills?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to make some money that you can then donate to the Sering Fund, why not give Luke Nowacki a call? Luke, he's one of our big financial guys. If you got a big financial decision coming up, like buying a new home or a new car or donating to somewhere, you want to know how it's going to affect your current and future financial goals. So Luke Nowacki and his team at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, they can help you plan for all your financial goals, both today and well into the future. Call Luke today, 248-663-4748 for a complimentary consultation to see if your plans align with your goals.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA-SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates, Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates, Inc.
And for those more immediate financial needs, we recommend that you give a call to our friend David Hall.
Yeah, if you're carrying debt, Hall Financial, they want to help you become debt-free. So one of the ways you can do that, if you own a home, you can get a cash-out refinance from Hall Financial. It's a great way to use that equity that is in your home to pay off those big credit card debt that you racked up over the holidays because you were just so...
the Christmas bills are coming.
Exactly. There you go. Get a free 5-minute mortgage review with Hall Financial. That's all it's going to take to get you and your family in a better position for 2023. Get the money you need right now. Cash out refinance from Hall Financial. Call them at 866-CALL-HALL or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek? Or we're turning into cool guys?
I was a little slow on the uptake there.
No, you know what? I should have
having a slow day.
I should have jumped in there and told people. Well, we had kind of a heavy start today. I mean, it's a heavy duty topic.
It's an incredibly heavy topic, but it's kind of fascinating, right? I mean, that this kind of shit goes on. It's
Well, Paul, who is one of the most generous guys you'll ever meet, he's a generous supporter of the Clark Park hockey game, which we'll talk about later on in the show. Victory for the good guys this year for once. And he also helped start the Eastside Youth Sports Foundation.
So your team lost?
Sean, you are picking up the slack for Sean.
Thank you.
It's a lot of slack.
Too easy.
But he does a lot for kids on the East Side. They have sports programs there, getting kids to play hockey, all kinds of different programs there at the East Side Youth Sports Foundation. So you should check those guys out. They make a lot of opportunities for kids right here to get involved in positive events. But what I should have said when we wrapped up with Hall and Luke is, you know, we don't want their involvement in this show to strictly be a donation. We encourage you to do business with them. If you want to find links to their website, you can just go to our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. Here's somebody who probably needs a donation. Sadly, it's a West Virginia journalist who lost her job after she reported about alleged abuse of people with disabilities within a state agency that runs West Virginia's foster care and psychiatric facilities. Amelia Farrell Kneasley, or Kneasley, she's a reporter at West Virginia Public Broadcasting, said she was told to stop reporting on the Department of Health and Human Resources after leaders of the embattled agency threatened to discredit the publicly funded television and radio network. She declined to desist and later found that her part-time position had been eliminated. Now,
so her job got eliminated because she's reporting on child abuse.
Yes, she works for a public television station, which is supported with state funds, and she's exposing wrongdoing in a state agency.
That's far worse, exposing wrongdoings. That's far worse than actual abuse.
Yeah.
What is going on in this world, man?
It's one of these things where, you do the right thing and people who are doing the wrong thing say you'll pay a price. And I've heard threats like that before and never paid the price. But here's someone who stood up and they kept their threat. So now everybody in West Virginia is kind of, we're not trying to do this and blah, blah, blah. Now they're saying that she was never fired and remains on the payroll and all that, even though she said her door key and her email were deactivated. Kind of sounds like when Kwame Kilpatrick said Gary Brown was not fired as the head of internal affairs, but all of a sudden they take his car keys and his ID card and everything like that. So,
kind of like when George Costanza was at Play Now and they made him go in the basement.
Oh, because he wouldn't give up the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. He lied about a disability.
A lot of people.
Everything comes back to Seinfeld.
Yeah, a lot of people laugh at Seinfeld, but really it is a sometimes painful insight into the human drama.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to cover their butts, but we won't be fooled. So the powerful people who are doing wrong in West Virginia, it's probably a pretty long list.
Including her bosses. That's horseshit.
Oh, yeah.
If she worked for a private media company, they wouldn't have stood up for that. They wouldn't have. You don't think so? Are you saying you have examples here locally?
I may have. Actually, may have a personal example.
That might be why I brought it up.
I'm thinking of it right now. But yeah, no. So those of you in West Virginia who can't stand the truth, you're our Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
So last week in room 7609, we took a step out of the new wave age to the next wave, which some people consider Britpop, some people consider whatever, some people call it shoegazing. And we looked at Majesty Crush, which was a local band that did some pretty nice music. It was suggested to us by Mr. Magoo, who writes again with a little bit more information on a story that he didn't quite tell us the full story of. He says, I sincerely apologize for a serious oversight regarding the Majesty Crush tale. I guess research should be left to the experts. Dave Straughter, who was the lead singer, died a tragic death in 2017, Magoo tells us, after a bizarre mental health episode that involved a hatchet-wielding incident, followed by a car chase and a police pit maneuver. Straughter was shot to death by a half dozen officers. Magoo, out! So shoegazing is such a nice, sort of sensual, lush, relaxing genre. It's kind of tough to hear it end like that. But we're going to try and keep on the positive tip. And so here's Blur with There's No Other Way.